Hey guys, Credible Crypto here. I'm excited to bring you guys another market update, this time on Ethereum. It seems like Ethereum is definitely one of the coins that everyone is talking about right now, and for good reason. We can say that it is leading the market with an aggressive move up over the last few days, and so many are really excited about Ethereum because we have reclaimed some very key levels on the chart. At the same time, I think that is a good time to be a little bit cautious, and I'm going to talk about that in this video. I'm going to talk about whether I'm bullish or bearish on Ethereum, the time frames, what I'm looking for, so that you guys have an idea of what I'm expecting here. All right. Now, first things first, on this chart here, let's start off with that. I've marked off probably the most important level on this entire chart, and that is the area between 360, or I should say 350 to 380. Okay, this particular area is, I think, arguably, I think anyone would agree with me that this particular area is the most important level on this entire chart in the history of Ethereum. And the reason that I say that is because this particular level that acted as resistance back in 2017, some 3 years ago, it acted as resistance once, it acted as resistance twice, and on the third time we finally broke through it, and that rally ended up leading to our parabolic advance and to our all-time high of $1,600 back in 2017. So this level is insanely significant. On the way down during the bear market crash, we came falling down. We actually retested that level for the first time, and that led to the largest bounce that we saw in this bear market, a bounce of about 130%. All right, this area, that's proof that this area is a significant area of demand for buyers, in the same way that it was a significant area of resistance and supply for sellers on the way up. So this area gave us a bounce of 130%, the largest and really probably one of the most significant bounces, or the only major significant bounce here on our way down from our highs at $1,600, after which we came back to retest it again. On this next test of this region, it was not able to support the drop, and we plummeted through, and then we ended up seeing capitulation down to our bear market low of $80 here on Ethereum. So this level is extremely significant. And recently, on the weekly, we ended up closing above it. So the fact that we closed above this level has a lot of people extremely bullish here, and I can understand why. And a lot of people have been calling for 600, 700, 800 here in the next month or so. Some are calling for 600, 700 in the next couple of weeks or the next week or so. And while this is extremely bullish that we do have this recovery of this very key level, again acted as resistance here as well on this first attempted rally off the lows, I think it's very important to keep in mind a second level that is being overlooked by many at the moment. I'm surprised more haven't been pointing it out, but this second level is actually also very significant, and I would argue it's probably the second most significant level on this entire chart. And that level is going to be this level right here. Okay, this particular level, I think, and I would argue, is the second most important level on this entire chart. And the reason that I say that is because this particular level is the level at which we broke down from, and that level that led to the break of this very important level. All right, and at this point, this is actually our first time really retesting this region, and thus far we haven't closed above it on the weekly time frame. So in my opinion, this area is still not, I would say, broken. Whenever we get a close above the area is when it's broken. Until we get a close above the area, this could still end up being just a wick. Now I've taken, this is the 2-week chart, but we can take the same level on the weekly chart and essentially isolate it. It's pretty much the same region, right? So for starters, we'd want to see at least a weekly close above this level. And if you want to be a little bit more cautious and wait for a little bit more confirmation, you want to see a 2-weekly close above this level. Frankly, I think a weekly close would be enough. Right now, we have 4 days and 19 hours until the weekly close. So what I'm looking for to officially think that we're going to rocket to the upside is a weekly close above this level, which we haven't got yet, all right? Now, the important thing is when we go down to lower time frames, we get a lot more information. And we know that this area is a key area of resistance. We have not yet broken it. Let's go down to the lower time frames and see what we can find. Actually, we'll go to the daily, guys. And what we can see here on the daily is a potential bullish, bearish divergence here, okay? We have our last local high, our current local high. And on our side, we have our last local high and our current local high. And you can see that over here, we've made a higher high. And over here, we've made a lower high, all right? Now, the thing is, because we're so close to reaching these highs on the current move, if we do push up here over the coming days, as you can see, we're kind of flipped this level on the low time frames. If we can push up to maybe 500 in the coming days, it's quite possible that RSI does make a higher high here and invalidates the bearish divergence that we're forming. So that's awesome. That would strengthen the bullish argument. However, if we go up to the next time frame, the 3-day, we can see that in order to avoid a bearish divergence on the 3-day, we're going to need a lot more than just a $20, $30 move to the upside here. As you guys can see, this was our last high on the RSI on the 3-day. Our current high is a lot lower. Over here, we have our last high. Our current high is a lot higher. So for us to actually get above here and invalidate this bearish divergence, it's going to take a pretty significant push to the upside here. And keep in mind, while we are currently trading above the weekly area of resistance, it doesn't matter unless we get a close above. Until we get a close above, this is essentially just a wick in the grand scheme of things, right? If I were to go to the weekly time frame and we don't stay above where we are now in the next 4 days and 19 hours, and we end up pushing back below, this is just going to be a wick above the weekly level. It's not going to be a close, which means it's not going to be an actual break of this area of supply. So keeping that in mind, guys, we do have to be cautious here. I think caution is warranted based off of looking at this level here. And then on top of that, guys, we have this very significant area of support. Again, this is that weekly level that I mentioned is probably the most important level in this entire chart. And what we see here on the lower time frames is we see that we have this set of lows that was never actually swept. So the assumption here is that there's a lot of liquidity resting under this region. It would be surprising, frankly, for us to not come down and take this liquidity before we are to make a major move to the upside. If there is a major move to the upside, which everyone is already expecting, because once we clear this level, we go to about 570 to 600, and above that, we just take off, right? So the next significant area of resistance is going to be this region here, and passing that, we're going to accelerate pretty rapidly. So I think no one can really deny that there's a big move coming. The question is, does it happen now or does it happen after a correction, right? And I think it only makes sense if we are going to be seeing rapid expansion here in the coming days that we do come back down and take the liquidity resting here. Larger players want to fill up as much Ethereum as they can before this move, and I'm sure there's many players that have their stop losses resting below these lows. So it only makes sense that larger players may force price back down below this region, shake everyone out before going on an absolute tear here to the upside. Now, to pair this, to add to this, let's take a look at the Ethereum Bitcoin chart, because I think that does give us even more information off of which we can come to a more bearish or bullish conclusion here. Let's take a look at the Ethereum Bitcoin pairing now. All right, guys, here is the Ethereum Bitcoin pairing, and I know everyone is extremely bullish on this pairing as well, but I can't disregard the fact that we are actually up against, again, a major area of resistance here on the Ethereum Bitcoin pairing. We can see that this particular level has acted as support back in 2017 before a parabolic rally, and then once we lost it, it acted as resistance back here in 2019, and once again we're pressing up against this region. Now, it's true that every time an area of resistance gets tested, the weaker it gets. So we can argue that this level has already been weakened by this test, and I would agree that that is probably the case. But that doesn't mean that this resistance no longer exists. And just like we had to get a weekly close above the USD pairing for Ethereum to flip that level, we need to get a 3-weekly close above the BTC pairing for Ethereum to flip this level. So it's not quite over yet. RSI looks very good. It looks very healthy. It's pushing up here to the upside on the 3-weekly. Let's take a look at what it looks like on the weekly. All right, guys, so here's RSI on the weekly. And again, we can see here, guys, we have a potential bearish divergence brewing here on the Bitcoin pairing. If we close the weekly anywhere where we are at now, or if we dip a little bit below and close, RSI is going to make a lower high while price makes a higher high. This means that we have a potential for a bearish divergence to play out. Again, it also wouldn't surprise me if we consolidate here for a bit longer. If we are going to see an explosive move, which is probably going to happen once we break this region, again, the more consolidation we have, the stronger that move is going to be. So it makes sense for us to consolidate here a little bit longer before ripping to the upside. If we take a look at the 3-day chart, let's see if there's anything there. We'll look at that. We have potentially a triple bearish divergence here on the 3-day chart. Again, we want to take our measurements from the candle close to the candle close. So we can take this candle close to this candle close. It hasn't closed yet. We have one more day until the 3-day closes. But as it stands now, we could very well be putting in a potential bearish divergence here. Now, what does this entail for the USD pairing, guys? What this means is that Ethereum is going to fall against Bitcoin potentially, right? If we can't get above this resistance, we might fall against Bitcoin. If that happens, I'm not looking for anything major like a crash, but I am looking for a decent retracement down here. Let me show you guys what I'd anticipate to happen, what I think is most likely here if we do reject. So if we end up rejecting off of this level, there should be a key level here. Let me see if I can find it. Okay, essentially this level right here. So this level is very significant. Okay, this level that we moved up on before we dropped and had our capitulation, and we recovered it. We haven't really retested, as you can see on the high time frame. On the 3 weekly we haven't. We probably have on the weekly. Let me take a look. I guess not so much on the weekly either. After our, I guess this is a weekly retest. Okay, yeah. So we have retested on the weekly, but I would not be surprised if we retest this region again. So I'm gonna make this level green because it should act as support on the way down. And let's see here. So this would make the most sense to me if we rejected from the current region that we're at. Just a little leg down here, consolidation essentially, before we rip up and then break this level. It'd make a lot of sense from multiple perspectives. Let's take a look and see how big of a drop that's going to be if that were to happen. So from the current levels that we're at now, again, we can wick above this level, but unless we get a 3 weekly close above, it's not broken. From the current level that we're at, if we were to get a drop down to this region, that would be a drop of about 20%. Okay, 20% drop right there. And so what that means for the USD pairing, guys, is that the USD pairing could also fall pretty significantly. All right, so guys, I'm going to go back to the USD chart, and let's talk about what that means, what I'm expecting to happen here on the USD pairing. So I've already showed you guys that unless we start making some major moves to the upside here, we're risking putting in a bearish divergence here on the 3-day. We actually, I think on the weekly, might put one in as well. So the 3-day closes tomorrow, but the weekly closes in 4 days. Yeah, and on the weekly as well on the USD pairing, we already saw that we have a potential bearish dip on the weekly if we close the way we're at now. And on the USD pairing, we have that same potential bearish divergence here on the weekly. Again, RSI making a lower high, price making a higher high. This will print if we close above 430 by the end of 4 days and 20 hours. And if we don't go much higher than where we are now, 480. So if we close somewhere between 430 and 480 in the next 4 days and 19 hours, we're going to print this potential bearish divergence, which signifies that buy pressure is waning and we could be seeing a pullback here. So what am I looking for in case we do pull back? I think a pullback is likely, but what am I looking for as downside targets? So the first area of interest is going to be this region right here. Okay, I think this level will actually act as temporary support if we do fall. It may act as a place for a relief bounce, but I don't think this is necessarily going to be the end of it. This area is very significant because it is the area that, as you can see here, we broke down from pretty aggressively, we tested it as resistance, and then we broke back above it. So a retest of this level should give us some sort of support because we have these key areas. What was once resistance should now act as support. But again, I see all this liquidity resting under the 360s, so I would not be surprised if we do actually make a leg down to test this region, then potentially bounce back up as such, and maybe retest this area, establish it as resistance as well on the lower time frames, and then come back down to actually take out the liquidity at 360. From there, guys, we have a major area of support right down here, and I really don't think this is a crash to be worried about. This is essentially going to be a very, very big buy the dip opportunity if it does come, guys. This area between 300 to 330, right? So wick below 360, potential aggressive wick into 300 to 330, which I know is going to surprise many people, and then immediately I expect us to launch back up to the upside and then go for a break of our major weekly resistance. So guys, I wanted to make this video because I noticed that a lot of people, again, seem to be very euphoric about Ethereum here. I'm just talking about the way the charts look. This has nothing to do with the fundamentals of Ethereum, whether I like it or whether I don't like it. It has nothing to do here with this analysis. It's totally based on the charts and what I'm seeing here on the charts. A few weeks ago, or a couple weeks ago, when we were sitting here at 450, I tweeted out that if you guys are patient, you'll probably get a discount on Ethereum, because I saw this very clear bearish divergence here on the daily, and apparently it angered a lot of people because I got a lot of negative comments on that tweet, people saying that I was crazy here for thinking that we're going to pull back on Ethereum. But really, guys, I was just looking at the chart and I saw this very clean bearish divergence printed. We ended up falling from there about 17%. All right, now I was targeting these lows and we never swept those lows, which is what makes me think that we may still be coming down for them. But anyways, guys, the point here is we want a long resistance, or we want a long support, not resistance. Currently, we are at weekly resistance, and again, arguably the second most important level on this chart, in my opinion. And so, until we've actually gotten a close above 465, I can't actually flip bullish here. It doesn't make sense for me to do that. It doesn't follow my system. For me personally, based on my analysis. So when we do flip 465 on the weekly level, I will be the biggest Ethereum bull out there. Until then, I think we need to be a little bit cautious with a potential move back down to the 360s. After which I think we're going to make a major move to the upside. So that was my quick update on Ethereum, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe so I can keep making content. It encourages me to keep putting content out there. Other than that, guys, have a great day, and I will catch you guys in the next one.